Hello and welcome, viewers, to our StarCast Staiion, where we will be bringing you a battle between LiquidTaeJa and CMSPolt. This battle is part of the 2013 WCS Season 2 America Premier League and occurs on Neo Planet S.
Both Polt and TaeJa build barracks and take their first gas. After Polt's barracks finishes, he immediately builds his factory, while TaeJa builds an extra command center before building his factory. This allows Polt to get his starport tech up before TaeJa and get his Banshee into TaeJa's base to apply early pressure. TaeJa sees Polt's Banshee arrive at his natural expansion. It kills this first worker and then comes north into the base, getting one volley off on these Marines without taking any damage. We see TaeJa's Banshee spawning, but Polt's Banshee is already in TaeJa's base, doing damage and having the cloaking field. That's the advantage of getting this tech out so early. It forces the missile turret out of TaeJa. When the missile turret completes, it's going to give him a little bit of vision on this invisible unit if he gets too close, but the Banshee is able to survive and continue doing damage. We've switched back to both players' view, so we can keep an eye on this Banshee. TaeJa, with his early economic play, is going to get ahead with the workers, but Polt is pulling ahead in the overall supply by just taking so many of these Marines. This Banshee's ranking up to Sergeant, doing so much damage. Finally, it's running out of its cloak. Racks up 14 kills before it escapes with its life. In Polt's base, we see TaeJa's Banshee finally arriving and able to do damage in the middle of the line. Polt has already built a Raven and has Marines on hand. Polt follows up his early Banshee aggression with this small push. Scanning TaeJa's defenses, he understands that pushing directly in would lose way too many forces, so he just advances with his Raven and drops dual Seeker missiles, trying to lure the enemy air force over that Widow Mine. Doesn't work, but it does provide him some time to get the original Banshee back into the base. It's back, it's repaired, it gets 3 more kills before it's pushed out again. TaeJa's economy is really ramping up, but he's been kept in his base the whole game by Polt, whose map presence allow him to pull off maneuvers like this, where he takes tanks and Marines to come to the north and deny TaeJa's third and the income that it would grant him, while Polt at home is taking his own third. Polt's Marines are really starting to put the hurt on this command center, and shells are landing on these workers and these Marines. Polt's going to use this engagement to pull ahead in the supply count. TaeJa moves out to clear out the guard from the high ground, but Polt's forces are nearby. He rushes in with his Marines, giving his tanks time to get into position.
Polt secures the high ground, devastates the infantry, and shoots down these medevacs.
Polt is once again going to bring a force up to the north to try to do more damage to this third, but TaeJa gets the scan on Polt's army and is able to get his tanks in a defensive position in time to set up a siege line that's very favorable. Polt has strong positions in the north and the south, so TaeJa is going to pull these Marines out of position and move to take this high ground, dropping Marines on the tanks in the rear and cleaning up the rest.
That was such a sneaky move. I like it.
Polt's infantry moves out through the south lane, meets with TaeJa's larger army, and is overrun.
He's losing his medevacs!
TaeJa is going to use this momentum and move through the center of the map with his troops to set up a position outside of Polt's fort. Polt's trying to defend this position with Marines only. He's having a really hard time getting back up to 200 maxed out supply after these past few engagements. The 4th goes down. Oh, SCVs are going down too. TaeJa's pursuing Polt's army to the north. Tanks following in behind. Polt retreats up the high ground. TaeJa pokes up and finds out that Polt's got a 5th up there from those shells it fires at the Marines. But the tanks get in range of the planetary fortress, start firing their cannons, and Polt recognizes this as a situation where he can't defend.
Totally lost cause there.
TaeJa's Marine is going to get stimmed and do a little bit of damage to these medvacs as they fly away. One is down in yellow health, and they look to be going to the main base, but as they fly by the 3rd, there's a pack of stim Marines that take out 2 of the medvacs.
Ouch!
One of the medvacs is down in the red, and a newly spawned Marine gets stimmed to take it down. Both of the commanders are trying to stabilize their economy. as TaeJa's fourth gets shelled from the high ground by Polt. So LiquidTaeJa moves his forces to the center of the map, but gets seeker missiles on his tanks and sees that Polt is just setting up this amazing concave with his reinforcing tanks. So between the high ground and these reinforcing tanks, there's no way that TaeJa's going to be able to go up on the high ground without taking losses. So Polt, trying to be a little bit mobile with these infantry units, scans and sees that TaeJa's tanks outside his base are unsieged, able to take out that tank and these 3 Vikings. The infantry walking back, making sure their flank is okay. Looking at this fourth, knowing that there's no tanks to his rear, he's just gonna come in and take it down. Polt moves up his tank so he can break the position TaeJa has at the gold. Polt's tanks are in range of TaeJa's and get a few shots off, and he sends more Marines in to clean up the job. TaeJa's thinking that Polt has to be stretched thin, and so on the northern front, TaeJa stims up his Marines and gives it all he's got, but fighting up this ramp.
Body parts flying everywhere.
Reinforcing Marines arrive for Polt on the front lines and charge down the ramp to the gold base, taking shells to the face, fighting through the pain. They don't care, taking out these siege tanks, getting this command center.
Then blowing it to smithereens.
TaeJa's out of money and running low on supply. When the armies run into each other, they set up for a standoff in the north lane. TaeJa's trying to make something happen down here in the south, and he's able to pick up this medvac, but Polt is reinforcing to his forces to the north. And TaeJa's got to run all these units. See how Polt moves his Marines to soak up those shells hits. But as soon as his tanks get sieged up, oh gosh, they get shells on TaeJa's Marines. TaeJa sees that Polt is unsieging most of his army and decides that this is it. He's got to rush in, last-ditch effort. He's able to take out some tanks, but just gets annihilated.
GG!
The GG is called and the game is over.
GG!
StarCraft 2 is a licensed product of Blizzard Entertainment. We would like to give a special thanks to Blizzard for an awesome game. Thanks to WCS America for an awesome tournament. And thanks to you, the fans, for joining us for our broadcast.
Please subscribe and follow us if you enjoyed this broadcast and want more info about upcoming battle reports.